Guys, would you like to win a trip to Greece? Our amazing sponsor, Roasting Warehouse, is giving you and a friend the chance to win a trip for two to Athens. The prize is worth $10,000 and that covers flights and accommodation. Entering is easy, just spend over $50 in-store or online and you earn one entry. The more you shop, the higher your chances. But hurry, this is for Australian residents only and the winner will be drawn on December 27th. Spread the word, tell your friends and family, and start dreaming of Greece. And don't forget to use our discount code FOOTBALLFRIENDS for 15% off your purchase. Follow @Roasting Warehouse on Instagram or visit www.roastingwarehouse.com.au for more details.
Cheeky! That is extraordinary from Ben Caruccio. And it's their leading goal scorer and captain, Stef Moore.
The Melbourne Heart versus Melbourne Victory, probably I would say the ones at Amy Park were the best ones. 30,000 people packed in.
The interest was so big back then. It's actually just disappointing that it doesn't have that same hype around it.
When I see 20,000 at Amy Park for a Melbourne derby, I'm just thinking, how the fuck have we got to this point?
Where does Piol's goal rank among all-time A-League goals?
It's got to be right up there. This I reckon is in the top 5.
Thoughts on the second division developments? The clubs wanted to have a full home and away season. They're happy to do this because this is what the FA need. We're
getting a step closer to potentially having that pro rel in Australia, which we obviously need.
And welcome back for another episode of Football Friends with Ben and Stef. This week we don't have a special guest, but we are right next to each other in person.
We are. We're here in Adelaide doing it after the game. So we're doing a little bit of a Q&A episode. We've got a couple of days off because it's leading into the international break. So we've got a few questions surrounding international football, a little bit about the Socceroos. It's a bit of a boring time for us because we're not in the Socceroos, but a good chance to answer some of your questions. So do you want to get straight into the questions?
Yeah, I think let's get straight into it. I think the first one is Millfield Sports. What's the best A-League atmosphere you've played in?
For me, I would have to say Melbourne Derby. I think probably the old Melbourne derbies. The Melbourne Heart versus Melbourne Victory, probably I would say the ones at Amy Park were the best ones. 30,000 people packed in. They are... Unfortunately, we don't get those crowds anymore.
You remember the one when I don't know if you were playing. I was in the stands. I think for this one when Archie Thompson scored that last minute winner.
Yeah,
and went up to the fan.
I'm pretty sure I was in the stands as well.
Yeah,
but we played in some good ones. Like for me, I remember the 4-0.
Yeah.
Melbourne Heart. I think Harry Kuehl, Orlando Engelar. We won 4-0. That was one of my first ever games playing at left back.
Yeah.
So.
Crazy. And then also, like, obviously the atmosphere at Amy Park was much better, but when they used to play them at Etihad, and remember that first game of the season?
Well, we used to actually get...
It was like...
40,000.
Yeah, 40, 45. Like, they were massive. Like, it's crazy to see, obviously, not trying to be negative, but how the league has come down, obviously. The interest was so big back then. It's actually just disappointing that it doesn't have that same hype around it. Not that we want to be playing at Etihad, but you know, to get 40,000 there. And Victory used to play a lot of their big games at Etihad. They had a good deal with Etihad, so obviously it was more profitable for them. But still, like against like Sydney and Brisbane, potentially some games that they used to get like 25, 30.
When I see now, when I see 20,000 at Amy Park for a Melbourne derby, I'm just thinking, how the fuck have we got to this point?
Yeah,
I can't understand, Melbourne City, Melbourne Victory, how we can't sell those games out. Even with Western United, like for me, when it's two Melbourne teams, like imagine there was two Adelaide teams playing.
Yeah.
Fuck, you'd be expecting, if Adelaide United are getting between 10 to 15 for a normal game, you'd be expecting 20, 25 maybe if there was another team.
Yeah. No, it is true. And I think for me, the best atmosphere I ever played in front of was the grand final here in Adelaide, 54,000 against West Sydney. But grand final aside, I think it was playing Western Sydney Wanderers at Pertec. That stadium was, obviously it wasn't the best in terms of facilities and it wasn't the latest technology, but like the atmosphere that it created.
Yeah, that was scary.
Do
you remember the first time we went there? I think we were both on the bench.
And
Harry Kewell was on the bench as well.
Yeah, and Moisey scored.
Yeah.
For West Sydney.
Fuck. Yeah, that was that was hostile.
That was like the atmosphere where they score and you think, fuck, I don't want the ball.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to make a mistake here. So that's probably the best. And that's we've spoken about West Sydney before, but that's what's probably most disappointing with their crowds recently. I know they've obviously, like we've spoken about, they've spent years away, but they've now been at CommBank for a while and they just haven't been able to generate the same level of interest that they once did. But if they can with that stadium, like now it should be better. It should be better the way it's created, but it's never got back to what it was.
And all the issues with the active support
since
then. So hopefully it can, but it's going to be wait and see. But we'll go to the next question. Football down under. What's the process of adding minutes when returning from injury? Seems to be 30 minutes in game 1, start and play 60 minutes for game 2, and game 3, 90 minutes.
Yeah.
I suppose it depends on how long the injury's been.
Yeah.
Like if you've been out with a long-term injury, and long-term I'd probably say, 6 months or longer, you'd probably have actually a few games where you're coming off the bench and playing maybe 20, 30, slowly building up. You might need maybe 3 to 5 games where you're only playing at that point. I'm thinking maybe Noah Botic at Western United, he's coming back from a stress fracture in his navicular. So he obviously has to be careful with loading. You can't just put him straight in. He's had a bone injury. So that was the first game that he started, which was against you guys. So that's 4 games in.
Yeah, it really does. I think if you're coming back from a soft tissue injury, and you've been out for anywhere from 2 weeks to 8 weeks, once you're back full team training, you've done so much work in the rehab sessions with the physios and sports science guys to get back to the team training. Normally you'd have like a good block with them, and then you'd have like kind of like a session where it's like you're ticking the box of everything: high speed, kicking the ball, obviously at strength, shooting, crossing, whatever it is for your position. You would do that with the strength and conditioning coach, and if you tick that off, that's probably 7-8K session, like a big session.
It's basically like a match simulation session where they're trying to simulate a match, which you never can, because it's just
it's impossible.
It always is still a lot more controlled than a game environment. But I think usually, look, sometimes you can come back, maybe play a 30.
Yeah,
sometimes you can go straight in. Like I've come back from 2 soft tissues and I've started both times.
Yeah,
I suppose it depends how aggressive. Honestly, how aggressive you've been with your rehab. Like if you've spent the exact amount of time that you should have, then you probably can go in and start. Whereas if you've tried to rush it, and you tried to quickly get back, maybe you're only good for off the bench.
Depends on the position you're playing. Like if you're, for example, a right back, left back, and your biggest strength is high speed running, and you've done your hammy, and they know when you come into a game setting, they can't control what you're going to do, and you could do 500 to 600 high speed meters in a half. That might be too high. It's too high of a risk, because they would prefer to give you 30 minutes, where probably for someone like me, if I've done a hammy and then speed is the issue.
You never do a hammy anyway.
I don't get quick enough to do a hammy, but if somehow it did go in the game as a midfielder, you're not really going to get above, like it's pretty rare that a midfielder will get above 30 Ks, to be honest, as a number 6 number. Like obviously there's times where it does happen, but most games you don't. So it's I think what you've said, 30, 60, 90 is the most logical way to do it, but there's so many more things that come into it. But we'll go on to the next one, and we've got Aaron. Thoughts on the second division developments? I guess we spoke briefly a couple of weeks ago about what's going forward. I saw Simon Hill and Broski on their show. They had, I can't remember where he was from, but one of the presidents from the clubs was talking about it, and they were saying pretty much if all goes to plan for 2025, the clubs still aren't happy. The clubs wanted to have a full home and away season. They're happy to do this because this is what the FA need to kind of tick the box to see, all right, is the interest there? Can we get sponsors? And then they actually asked about the money that they put up, because I think it was 500 grand that they had to put up. And he pretty much just said, yeah, well, we haven't got that money back. It's somewhere in James Johnson's desk. So it's pretty frustrating for the clubs, because obviously they wanted to go the home and away. But this gives now probably, 2024 November. So in 11 months' time, the season will start for that competition. So now, between now and then, you've got 11 months for the FA to really do their due diligence to find more teams for 2026. And I think this competition maybe gives more teams that were probably sitting on the fence whether to submit or to put up this 500k. I think this shows, okay, they are serious. They do want it to happen. And so those teams maybe will actually go ahead with it, and then FA can actually do the process to audit them and to see if they're financially stable and if they've got the right facilities. So I think in 2026, a home and away season will happen. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I suppose I'm just excited for how it's actually going to look. Let's say when we do get to 2026. Ideally, we would have had that next year, but obviously that's not going to happen. So I suppose if the teams are still happy to do this tournament-based kind of setting, then that's great. And then if you can do a home and away season, I'm excited, because for me it feels like we're getting a step closer to potentially having that pro-rel in Australia, which we obviously need. How long it's actually going to take to get there, who knows? I think probably we live in a bit of a dream world where we think that we're hoping that things happen quickly, whereas realistically it's probably going to take a bit of time.
I think promotion can happen. Like if we get Canberra in next season, let's say that's the team that comes in, and you've now got 14 teams in the A-League, I think getting up to 18 is what we would ideally like. And
just can't have relegation though.
Just can't have relegation, but maybe you could have from the second division, you get, let's say you've got your 12, 14 teams in that to start with. Maybe the first couple years, you get 2 teams that get promoted.
I suppose, but then they got to pay obviously the license.
Yeah, that's obviously when the logistics comes in.
What if a team that's bottom in the NST goes, but you know what, fuck it, we'll pay 18 mil for a license. Well, this team's only going to pay 15.
And that's the problem. I think the A-League, maybe though, the thing is, because these teams that buy a license are also buying a percentage of the league, from the information I've read, if that's correct. So you buy a license, you get a percentage of the league. These teams that get maybe promoted from the second division, maybe they come into the league, but they don't get a percentage of the league unless they can pay that licensing fee. How that's all going to work with, the Silver Lake money, obviously that's coming up in 2 or 3 years. They have the potential to activate a clause when they can actually ask for their money back, or who knows what's going to happen if they don't have the money. So there's a lot to play out. There's a lot that will happen from this, but I think the most exciting thing is we get to have more games, which means there's more professional players. There's more academies that are going to be more full-time. There's coaches that are full-time, commentators, people in the media. There's just more football games on. And I think the one thing that FA and the APL need to be smart about is not to create a league that's kind of competing against the other for eyeballs. We need to have it that, all right, you want to watch one, you hopefully want to watch the other, and one's not going to take away from the other. So it's going to be interesting to see how the second division plays out, but I'll tune in straight away. Even though next year it's the group stage games, like I'm excited to watch those games. And,
absolutely.
And maybe once that starts, they'll realise that financially it is a lot more expensive than what they were thinking, especially when you add in the travel. But then hopefully from home games, the bigger clubs, South Melbourne, Preston in Melbourne, for example, they might get 5, 6, 7.
Exactly, yeah.
South Melbourne get probably up to 10,000 fans, and if they're making good money from that, then that subsidises your travel when you have to play interstate in Sydney. So we'll see how it goes.
We will see. As a professional athlete, wearing a GPS tracker every day is crucial. It gives me detailed insights into my performance, my output levels, and helps me track my progress over time. That's why having access to that kind of technology, no matter what level you're playing at, is a game changer. With Motion Sports and the Soccerbee GPS, you can do exactly that. Whether you're an aspiring pro or just someone who loves playing the game, Soccerbee allows you to track your distance, speed, compare yourself against 50,000 other users, and build a player profile. just like we do as professionals. Having that data at your fingertips is invaluable for any footballer looking to level up their game. And right now, you can get 15% off with the code BESTFRIENDS at checkout. So head over to www.motionsports.com.au, grab your Soccerbee GPS and start taking your football performance to the next level. On to the next question for Ash. Do you think Sydney FC's high press is easy to counter? I definitely don't think it's easy to counter. I think like any team, I think the way teams play, you're always going to have your strengths, your weaknesses. I think the way that they press is definitely a strength of Sydney FC's. I wouldn't say that it's something that they do, and because they do it, it's easy to play against. I think with the players they've got, the personnel that they've got, maybe with their midfielders this year, you look at kind of Senna, you look at Caceres, neither of them are really that defensive kind of midfielder, whereas last year they maybe had, Bratton, who was maybe that one that could get stuck in a little bit more. They also had players like Rodwell, who were at the back. Even if Rodwell was ever playing as a six, then that's a very physical presence.
Or Girdwood Reich.
You obviously had back there as well at centre-back. So now they've got, obviously, the two kind of younger centre-backs. Girdwood Reich was also young as well, but you got obviously
He
Popovic.
played midfield, I guess, sometimes.
Sometimes.
So that makes a difference as an 8.
Popovic and Hayden Matthews. Look, I don't think it's easy to counter. I think you need to have guts. You need to have balls, I think, to play against it. You need to be willing to play under pressure, to maybe lose the ball a couple of times. The thing is, with their quality, if you lose the ball 1 or 2 times against them, you're probably going to cop 1 or 2 goals.
I think it's the risk v reward. It's kind of like Ange Postecoglou, the way he plays with Tottenham, a little bit, to be honest. And there's going to be games where they lose because teams do get through the press. But like you said, there's going to be other games where they score 2 or 3 and the game's done, and they can smash teams. And I think you just have to. We both obviously haven't played them yet this season, so I'm sure they've changed a little bit from last year, but you just have to be brave enough if you're playing against them to play out under pressure and knowing, I guess, where your next pass is. Can you play that third man? Can you skip passes, play over third man runs? But, they're expecting that. So they're also trying to be aggressive and win that. And if they do win it, then it's that relentless pressure that they're going to keep coming after you. And as a team, then you keep losing the ball. So then when you win it, you're panicking. And that's obviously what they want. And then when they've got the players like Lolly, Klimala, Costa, Senna, Caceres on the ball, they don't lose it. And that's probably in the last couple of weeks, by not having Lolly and Costa, I think they've maybe lost a little bit of that probably ball retention where, it's hard to get the ball off those guys, where if you have some of the younger boys coming in, even though they're quality, maybe their actions, they're trying to beat the player a little bit more and they lose it 50% of the time, where Lolly never really loses it. So I think it's something that they're for me, they've probably been the top team so far this season, even though they've lost a couple of games. They lost to Auckland last minute, they lost to MacArthur, but even in the Champions League they lost to Sanfrecce Hiroshima twice, but they looked really good in those games. That's probably the best I've seen an Australian team play against a Japanese team. So for me, it's not easy. Will they be the best team this year? It's too hard to know, but I like watching their games as a neutral because it's exciting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I rate the press, to be honest. I actually do rate it. Like if I'm talking from a Sydney FC, if I'm a Sydney FC fan or someone involved with the club, like I actually rate it. I think pressing is the way to go in football, especially in the A-League. I think like a lot of probably the most successful teams of the past, like you think about your Raw Salonas, and those types of teams, even, the Melbourne Victory. They were all high-pressing teams. I think in this league, if you get it right and you can do it well, you got a very good chance to win the ball, because I think probably a lot of the teams just can't handle it.
Especially when it gets, and it works both ways, but when it gets to summer and it's hot, if you're pressing, it's obviously very hard to do. But if you're pressing and you're winning the ball and you keep the ball for long periods of time, and then whenever you lose it, you can press straight away. Teams that then have the ball and they've been defending for 10 or 15 minutes, they're not in a position where they can play out because you're so tired, you're so fatigued. you're so compact defensively, then when you go to win it and spread out, you lose it straight away. And that's where I think Sydney's high press, they're trying to kind of get on the front foot to think, we're not going to give chances to teams to get settled in the game. All we want to do is actually win the ball straight away and put you under more pressure. And that's what, Ange Postecoglou's team up in Brisbane, that was the best example. Obviously, it's very humid up there. Sydney's similar, though. That was but, you just had no energy, and then the crowd gets in, and it's good. There's different ways to play football. I'm one that I would prefer to try and, I think, win the game by doing that, by being aggressive, rather than sitting back and trying not to lose the game. But also, there's no right or wrong way to do it. But on to the next question from Darren. Where does Piol's goal rank among all-time A-League goals?
It's got to be right up there. Honestly, we spoke about it on Monday, but fuck me. It's come in from the left side. He's hit it with his right foot. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
The physics of it don't even make sense. And the way he's been able to connect with it, somehow hit it with his right and it swerved into the post.
Yeah.
I would say McGree's Scorpion is the best goal we've ever seen here. But
have they done the countdown of the top A-League goals? They've just showed some of the best ones this year for the anniversary. But
obviously, even the year that I won it, fuck, do you remember Nooney's goal? The big switch of play and he's hit the volley. Fuck me.
Or
obviously
Cahill, Orlando Englars halfway.
Orlando Englars, that won the one for the best long distance goal, which I thought probably Cahill's was the best. But
I think it's going to be close. I think there's been a couple of bicycle kicks in the years gone by. But
this is better than Alex Terra's.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other ones.
I think
this I reckon is in the top 5.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the difficulty of doing it with your right foot as it's coming from the left and to go back across like that. It's top, and it's something that I would never ever try, I don't reckon. I don't think I would have the balls to try that. I'm thinking I'm going to fucking land on my neck.
Yeah, I suppose if myself. You do. If the cross is behind, it's just an instinct kind of thing. If you feel
like Wayne Rooney's.
Yeah, it's like Garucha's scorpion kick,
Yeah, not really. But anyway, that was in slow motion, that one. And this next question, I guess, kind of speaks for itself. If we've just obviously spoken how good is Piol's screamer or Ishige's free kick. I think the problem with this weekend is even Ugarkovic's goal. Most weeks, Ugarkovic's goal probably wins goal of the week.
Yeah.
But you've got Ugarkovic, Piol, and Ishige. And Ishige and Ugarkovic don't even really come close because of... All right, that free kick goal is amazing. And we're probably not going to maybe see a better one this year. But free kick goals happen all the time.
They're even long range, bombs. They happen all the time. It doesn't mean that this one was better than the other one. They're all... Yeah. You score any of those and you're going to be buzzing with it. But when you score a goal like a scorpion, like a bicycle, it's just... You could rare. Maybe only do that once in your career. Whereas if you're someone that shoots a lot... Yeah. Look how many Stevie G scored across his career. Do you think he could pick one that's this one's the best? Yeah. They're all very good. But...
Yeah. No need to speak about Liverpool, but...
Come on, Stevie G.
Going on to the next one. Tobias Football. Who would be in your all-time five-a-side teams?
Should we go one at a time? We start from the back.
No, you...
And go all the way.
Or you want more time to think?
Well, yeah, that way we can do one each.
So start with goalkeeper.
So we'll start with goalkeeper.
You go first.
I'm going to go for Edison.
Yeah?
Five-a-side. I need him to make saves, but I also need him to be able to pick a pass.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fair. That's probably not a bad shout then. Edison's not a bad one if you're thinking about it like that. I'll go Manuel Neuer. Obviously, we're talking about current times as well a little bit because they're fresh in our heads.
He was the other one that I probably would have said.
He's maybe not right now. He's probably dropped off, but back in his day, obviously unbelievable. But with his feet, he's so calm on the ball.
Yeah.
So he's mine.
Defender. Trent.
You can Trent. Are we just going current players?
Nah, all time.
Okay,
It says
so-
all time.
And you're
Five-a-side.
thinking Trent in your team. All right.
Probably the best passer of the ball that you could get.
Yeah, you reckon?
I don't know if there's a better passer of the ball. I don't know if there's ever been a better passer of the ball.
I don't know if he's going to be able to defend in these small-sided games when...
That's right. My team's going to just be free-flowing,
just having
attacking
the ball. All right. I'm going to go for... Who do I want back there? It is tough. I'll go Cafu.
Yeah, that's quality.
Yeah.
That's quality. All right. What are we doing here? It's five-a-side. The rest can kind of just be any kind of position.
Yeah.
I go Zidane, 100%.
Yeah. I actually was going to have Zidane as well. So I'll put him in there.
All right, just copying me. I go Maradona. Zidane, one. How many players have we got?
I've had the
One,
keeper.
2, 3, 4. Oh, no. So we've only got one more after this.
Yeah, well, you've said Maradona, so it's too late. So he's put Maradona in. I'll go for Messi next up.
Yeah, Messi's my last.
And then for my other one, I'm going to go Neymar. I think five-a-side. Obviously, Maradona would be top as well.
Yeah, they're different. They're different eras. Just different eras. But Maradona, for me, probably one of the best dribblers.
Yeah,
next to Messi. But then of the modern game, Neymar's probably the best dribbler.
Neymar's kind of... he's been really hard done by. Like, if you look now, like if Neymar was coming through now, when you've got Vinicius and even Rodri, let's say those two were going for the Ballon d'Or, but like I think Neymar at his best was better, obviously, in these last 2 years of people winning the Ballon d'Or. But like,
absolutely,
he's just come up at a time when Ronaldo and Messi.
Have you seen everything that's going on with him at the moment? With his ACL?
He got injured again, his hamstring over there.
His rehab, there was a lot of videos circulating about his rehab and the stuff he was doing and the pain that he was in his rehab. And have you seen all that?
No.
It was pretty bad. A lot of people kind of saying his team forced him, rushed him, did the wrong things in his rehab. There was a video where they're fucking bending his leg and he's screaming in pain.
Fucking hell.
So
yeah, well,
anyway,
he's come back now. He's done his hammy.
He's injured.
I read that they're maybe looking to terminate his deal. I don't know if they can just do that, but maybe if they pay him out, he's probably happy to take his cash and
that's what I mean.
Go to some beach in Brazil, or maybe move to the MLS go to Inter Miami. Inter Miami seem to be just signing every single player and getting
exactly.
Well, they've just got knocked out of the MLS playoffs, but they're in the Club World Cup because obviously a little bit of not corruption, but favoritism, I guess you could say. So maybe Neymar ends up at Inter Miami. Imagine that.
Fuck.
Messi, Suarez, Neymar back together.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be playing in the MLS.
But defensively, they would not be doing much.
Of course not. But
I guess
still,
that's the thing.
You got to
it's
stop
like our
it.
five-a-side team.
Exactly.
We score 6. You got to score 7.
Exactly right.
So I think that's the five-a-sides. We'd love to know what you've got. Obviously, we've gone for a little bit of a different format this week with the questions. No guest, but next week we'll be back on with a guest. Obviously, we don't have the Monday review show because there's no A-League on the weekend, which is pretty disappointing to me. I love watching the Socceroos.
But the Socceroos are obviously in action. So if you're in Melbourne, I'll be going down to Amy Park to watch that one.
Maybe we get you out there with the mic. You can ask some questions to people.
That would be good. It'll be it's always unreal when the Socceroos are playing here on home soil. So it'll be good to be in Melbourne. I'm hoping for a great crowd. It's always exciting times. Hopefully they can get another win. We had a lot of questions, I'll also say, about VAR calls and penalty shouts. But we already answered all of them on our Monday review show, so head to that. Me and Stef were punching on the whole episode, but we got through it. We're still here. We're still mates.
And on that, FA did actually release a statement saying that they got it wrong. And then I think it was Jace that commented back on Twitter or something, said that doesn't help us.
Doesn't give you 3 points. Doesn't give you 1 point.
Yeah, and that's just the thing with it. It is what it is. Obviously, there's always going to be human error because we haven't invented the robot yet, the AI robot to come out there and referee the game.
No.
Maybe one day in the not too distant future we will have that.
Maybe.
And then there probably shouldn't be any wrong decisions, but there's still going to probably be wrong decisions, even if you had a robot doing it, because a lot of it's up to interpretation. This was just a wrong decision, obviously, but it's going to happen. It's the reality of it is, and there's been a little bit more controversy in the. You probably haven't seen it because you're not on Twitter as much as me or X, but there was a referee that's actually come out, a video being leaked of him talking about how much he hates Liverpool and he thinks Klopp's a cunt, and that's why he doesn't like him. So he's been stood down, I think.
No way.
It's crazy. There's always going to be a little bit of bias.
We would have won even more trophies when he was there.
I don't know. But like, I look at it like Arsenal right now. We've gone off topic, but I think there is, because of the way Arteta is and the way that Arsenal is as a team, referees now don't like him. So it's in their heads and things go against you.
It's a disgrace.
Yeah. Like, you know, we're giving away a penalty that's a handball that maybe shouldn't be against Inter Milan, and Marino's getting punched in the head, and apparently that's not a penalty. So, anyway, it is what it is. You've just got to cop it, and I think
you got to clop it.
Yeah, you've got to clop it, and I think as an organisation, as a club, you just have to, internally you're pissed off and you go to the officials, but to the media, the best thing is to be like, you know what, we don't care, it's us against them. We're going to react in the right way. We're going to control what we can control, because that's all that we can do. Because you don't want to be the team that moans too much about things, which I think maybe Arteta has done a little bit, for example, for Arsenal. But it does, you know, when it builds up, you want to win and you feel like this decision goes against you. But anyway, thank you so much for listening in. We've rambled on, as always. It was great to be in person, and we will see you next Thursday for our guest appearance.
Thank you very much for listening in, guys. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, follow us from wherever you're listening to this podcast. And don't forget, our socials are Football Friends Pod on Insta and TikTok, Ben and Stef Pod on X, and Football Friends with Ben and Stef on YouTube. We'll see you next week, guys.
See ya.